So you're playing Io in this game with this loadout, which for the most part I think is fine. There's like one or two cards I would swap out. So health, fine. You use Sanctum of Faith, so you know she has 3 regen cards. They're all fine, just based on what you prefer. Sanctum of Faith gives you the lowest regen percent per second per point. I mean, all of them are per second, so it's just the lowest regen percent per point. But it's the most reliable because you don't need the dog to be on you, and you don't need to be shooting people. So it makes sense that it's the lowest percent. Because you only run this one card and it is the lowest percent, I would max it out though. I'll tell you vaguely where I would take the point out of. So Broken Deity, fine. I run it at 1. Some people don't run it. It's not, I mean, her default or base deploy range is 50 units, which is not very far. So it doesn't increase it too much, but it's fine. I mean, on a small map like this, you don't necessarily need it, but again, it's whatever. It's a nice quality of life thing to have, fine. So Lunar Connection is the card I have the biggest problem with because you don't have Spirit Arrows in here, which is the one where right-clicking reduces the cooldown of Luna Redeploy significantly. And that's the one you really need. I would replace that, or I would replace this one with that card, because with this card, it's like you're just not managing Luna at all. You're just kind of shoving her in a really, most of the time, hopefully, really, really safe place and not moving her around. Whereas managing Luna kind of is part of what makes Io really hard to play, and that's like the whole high skill ceiling thing. Also, what you don't have in here is self-heals on right-click. That's huge that you don't have it, because it really stifles the amount of stuff that you can do with Luna. Also, so I would recommend you can drop Crescent out of your loadout, only because, not because Crescent is a bad card, but because, first of all, if you had it in any loadout, I would recommend it at level 2. You really don't need it at level 3. But secondly, because based on, so I already watched your game once, and based on your gameplay, it procs multiple times, but as far as I could see, you only actually used it once. So if you're not going to use it, it's not part of your playstyle, you put 3 whole points in here, it's honestly kind of a waste. So I would recommend what you do is replace this with Spirit Arrows, drop that to level 2. You don't need it at level 3. 2 is plenty, so that you have an extra point that you shove into Sanctum of Faith. Make sure that's at 5 maxed out, so you have like as much regen as you can get out of that card. And then replace this 4-pointer with self-heals. And then that should feel a lot better, because you do play fairly passively, and that, like, then your whole deck should synergize with your playstyle. Okay, that is loud. You buy Cot first. Fine. I would recommend that you buy, Cot. I thought it was Wrecker. So I would recommend that you buy Nimble. On Io, it just feels so good because you have to line of sight all your heals. And also because you have no self-heals in your loadout. Alright, before we get into the game, because you have no self-heals on your loadout, you have to leave Luna on you to get healing. And then if Luna is dead also, you just kind of have to wait out of combat to do anything. Like, you can't peek, you can't do anything. But with Io, you have to peek for heals. So it really, like, sometimes you're just sitting there like a sitting duck. So anyways, so I wanted to pause here because what your team does and why you guys kept losing point fights in the beginning is because, so Dimitri just goes to point every time, just fine. Inara's on point, they should be able to duke it out, but you don't put Luna on point. So it takes you a while, I'll just let this play. It takes you a while to even deploy Luna, and there's really no reason for you not to. And then once you do, you kind of put her really like nowhere. I understand it's on you, but you have a really hard time. Like, I basically would have put Luna on point with Dimitri, especially early game when they don't even have Dozer. You have to obviously watch the health bar down here, and when it's getting low, you should move it. But again, you don't have spirit arrows, so if they're killing it really fast, you don't have a choice. But basically, you put Luna on you, Dimitri's on point, kind of getting shoved by their Nara and one of their, either their healer or their DPS, I can't remember. And then the rest of your team's on the right side, and you can't commit to healing either him or anyone on your right side, so you were just kind of not as effective as you could have been. Also, when you're pausing between heals, like when you're waiting for your heals to regen, you can just be spamming like this hallway. Like, also if you, in another deck, you want to run Moonlight Gardens and you actually hit stuff, the spam actually, you know, helps you regen and slows down your wait time. So I don't understand you putting Luna there. That literally has no value other than you're saying, kill my dog. I guess you want to stall, but it's not meaningful. I mean, Luna is already really low, and you're gonna have to wait like 13 seconds even with your card. It just wasn't worth it. You should, and you were also like half health, like you should have just pulled Luna to you, regened off of her, kept her safe. Like, they're not, I mean, the card's not that close. Oh, this is fun. That was I feel like that Q is it served no purpose. It kind of locked you out of doing anything else. You could have hit your F sooner. You could have used your Q and moved her, but put her behind you.
Killing spree.
I mean, that was just one of those cases where Luna heals. Just lifelink isn't really enough because everyone's taking damage. This is why I like DR, but I can respect lifelink. With lifelink, I feel like you should be able to shoot more because you have the dog, but again, it's because of your deck not having self heals that you have to use Luna to heal off of, so you can't actually use it to heal other people like Grok Totem and deploying it elsewhere or whatever. So it's kind of awkward. And also playing against a Grok as Luna or as Io with Luna is rough. It's harder than how it usually is because of the bounces, and Luna is just free shock pulses. So you have to be like extra careful about not feeding the Grok pulses. I think that was a good place to put Luna. I think that body blocked her for a brief moment. I don't know for sure. Anyways, the reason I suggest you buying Nimble is not that Caught is bad. Caught is very good. And Io is one of those characters we can actually afford to buy Caught because they don't need yellow cards. But Nimble's quite good because again, you have to line of sight all your heal targets. It lets you become more untargetable relatively. So again, I would just shove Luna on point for now. Like, he has a shield up, like, she should be fairly safe. Even if not to contest, at least put it there so that you can focus right-clicking all of these people over here. But now Barrick's having a hard time and he had to come over. And you guys can't win mid and you can't win right side. It's just kind of awkward. I guess here at this point fight you committed more to fighting on the right side. But still, like, what is Luna doing? Like, you should always be thinking about, where's Luna? What is she doing? Is she low? What's her health? Is she healing someone? Is she contesting? Should I be moving her? I would move Luna very, very quickly because you're getting pushed the fuck back. Move, move, move. Okay, good.
We must replenish our life.
I just don't understand how you play Io with no self heals. Literally insane. Okay, so when you heard that Inara ult go off, I would have just backed out. You kind of just didn't react. I think you were kind of confused by the con ults, or you were focused on the con ults, but it's fine. Move Luna. Okay, so you moved her, but that's not a great place to move her, I think. Not a terrible place, but... So try to think about moving her behind, so where she can heal your teammates. So where you have her now is okay, except I would put her slightly, sorry, oh god. You can kind of see, so you put her here, I would have put her here, because your team is fighting from behind this rock. So, but like you're putting her literally like in the middle. I don't think anyone was even trying to shoot her per se. Maybe you're using her to body block damage towards your team, but at the same time, again, you need her to be alive. So put her safer here. Oh god. Put her safer like behind the rock so it can heal and stuff. At least in that scenario. So here is just one of those situations where you're too low, you have no dog. I mean, it didn't really matter because your team is fine, but one of those situations where you're locked out. You can spam this angle or that angle. Yeah, that's fine. Io spam is fairly good. So move your dog. Move your dog.
30 seconds remaining.
Cool.
May this protect you.
So I would, okay, so with Io regen, heal regen, it regens a lot faster once you let it go to about like here or something. So if you keep trying to use it when it's here, when it just came back to here, it's gonna deplete really quickly again, as you find out right here. It's just rough. And while you're regenerating, you can just shoot because there's nothing else for you to do, and you're gonna do damage, potentially push them back.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Move. Okay, so you should have moved the dog. Like, could you have? I think you could have around here.
remaining.
Spirit arrows feel so good. So here I would have just moved it like roughly into this area. This would have been fine. Like slightly behind a wall. Basically, it's like on you, but it also safeguards you from someone tries to push you. You want to hide it, especially against Grok, so it doesn't like become a free shock pulse. Like it'll still, if he bounces off of you, it'll still bounce off of your dog, but he can't directly bounce off the dog, which is much easier. It's a stationary object. So Luna just dies because you're too busy right-clicking.
3, 2, 1.
Either that or you just don't notice. I don't know.
Overtime.
So, as I'm sure you're aware, Io's ult hitbox, is that what we call it? Like, yeah, I think that's what we call it, is huge. Like, it'll clip on everything. You have to be like, you were here, you need to be like here. You need to be like where you ended up. Like, you need to be very clear of walls. And especially if you try to send one through a doorway, like, you have to be incredibly careful. It clips on everything. I like the idea, though. So you should deploy Luna for self-healing. Not on point, though. Well, maybe on point. I guess on point's okay. For the extra heal, I could see that. That's fine. I think I'm so used to playing DRIO where I don't put Luna for heals, or I don't use Luna for heals, so... positioning's a little bit different. carry by morale boost, which I find interesting. I say interesting because Nimble would have definitely given you much more value out of this game at least, and you don't ult again, I think, or you ult very sparingly. Like, why morale boost if you don't ult? Same as like Crescent, whatever that card was, Crescent, I think it's just called Crescent, where you just get resets on F when you're below certain health. Like, you don't use it, so why bother? You can just, it's just not your play style. Because you play very safe anyways. And you have health cards. So again, I would have dropped Luna on point. So you see what happened, right? Like, it's just Inara plus 1 DPS versus just Barrack with some healing, but not really a lot. And then you heal Io or Luna, but she's not doing anything really. You're kind of really out of the fight, but somehow your team is doing okay, or the rest of your team is doing okay with no heals. And you guys won. I have no idea how, but it happened. You had some nice shots on the Eevee. Bye bye, BK. This is fine. Rock all OP, man. You moving the dog there did nothing, honestly. So you leaving the dog there was probably the only thing you could do to contest, which is fine. Although you did, I take that back. You actually didn't need to contest. I thought it was closer, but you guys did not need to contest, and now you're dogless for a while. And that Cassie got really lucky that Eevee missed her shot. So there, you put the dog here, but Dimitri is over here. If you put the dog here, there's a good chance he would have gotten healed from it through the wall. So that's something to consider. Like, putting it here was, I don't understand what, like, it was too far to heal you, and it was way too far to heal him. It wasn't on point. I just don't understand that dog placement. I mean, you tried to heal him. Rock Pulse OP. You can spam stuff. It's okay. Is Cassie dead? I don't know. Okay, cool. Again, there was a lot of downtime when your heals are regenning. You could have at least tried shooting at the Eevee a little bit. Let it regen more! Stop pressing it! Shoot things, shoot things. So there, when it's like, you see here when you're like in a cluster. Oh, did I go back too far? So here, I don't know if this would have worked or worth it, but usually IO ult is not, like, most people don't think it's like amazing, and it's not amazing, but when people are in your face or when they're very clumped and close to you, like you're here, you could just ult them, push them like all the way back. That would have hit like probably 2 of them because they're too fucking clumped. And you still have like a minute and a half. You could have definitely gotten it back, especially with morale boost. I mean, I'm not like super great with IO ults, but I would have tried that. It's just something you have to keep trying to get a feel for. It's fine. Nice shot. I like where you put Luna here. She's behind a wall. She can still heal BK and you. That's fine. Ash is just dead. Cool. Spam that doorway maybe. So, move Luna. Move Luna. You always like forget to move Luna. So there you definitely forgot to move her. Like, as soon as you start backing out, you think you need to back out, probably have to move Luna, or at least think about it. Because that means your whole team is just backing out.
You are not welcome here.
So if you just were more cognizant of remembering to move her, you definitely would not need that card where it's like reduce Luna, redeploy by whatever. So again, there was like the only time I can remember this game where you used the crescent, the whatever, the crescent card. Crescent? I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that word. So put down Luna, like probably here. There's a little, it's okay. I mean, they can still shoot it. Like at this point, there's no reason to let them shoot it. That's fine, you got some nice shots all off on the Grok. Here, I know exactly why you came into their faces, because you wanted an ult on the Inara. That's a good heal on Cassie. Your healed prio is fine, as far as I can tell. It's really just the Luna management, and like, if you had a different deck, it would help with that. I don't know if that actually hit her. Hard to say, because Ashe booped her. It didn't actually look like it hit her, because she didn't get dragged, like, into infinity and beyond. I don't remember what card you bought here.
Spawn.
You did not buy a card here. Okay. Blast Shields could have been good. Resilience, good. I mean, Blast Shields against Grok Pulses and Eevee. So here, I like that. That's exactly what I wanted you to do, like, all game. Because it's essentially having, like, 2 people on point, plus you give Barrack a little bit of healing. But anyways, Blast Shield's good against Eevee, Grok Pulses. Those were really the only 2 sources of damage you were taking all game. Resilience would have been good against her ult, her stuns, her ult, his ults, kind of. If Khan ults you, you're probably just dead anyways. Unless you have like an exceptionally high level of resilience, which you couldn't have bought. So move Luna! Okay, you moved her a bit late. Like you were just kind of, okay, let's go back a little bit. So here is totally fine. I'm honestly like very okay with putting Luna on point. I don't know what items the other team has. Like maybe they have Dozer. I somehow doubt it. But anyways, shoving her on point, fine. To take damage, fine. But you have to watch her health bar. Like here you can just see her health bar, but like you see here you can still see her health bar. And once it starts blinking like this, like the blink it just did, you have to move her, like now. Just move her now and you've been totally fine. You just kind of like, I think you were looking around for people to heal, but you have to keep an eye on this. It takes a while to get used to. But you guys like set up that point much better, so you won.
Thanks.
That's fine. You guys could have zoned much more aggressively because you had dog on point. I don't know if you called it out or like Barrack knew. I don't know. That move was honestly useless, but I don't know. Sometimes it's okay. I think it's sometimes it's okay to just move her a little bit, just so people don't like remember exactly where she is to keep shooting the same exact location. But when you have no spirit arrows, and so the cooldown is whatever 8 seconds, you can't afford moves like that in case you actually need to move her somewhere more meaningful. Didn't matter in this case, but I'm just pointing it out in general. Nice shots. That Ashe cannot believe she survived. She must have like life rip in her deck. Yeah. I'll scroll over to the scoreboard. So, you played well enough to win the game for sure. Like you out-healed, out-damaged, outlived the other healer. The biggest things were, for your playstyle, lifelink is totally fine, but I would totally switch some cards in the loadout. You can shoot the hallways, corners a little bit more when you're not healing. Definitely think about how to manage the dog more. yeah, you just have to pay particular attention. It took me a while to pay attention to this corner, but you just have to do it. And then you can put her on point. I like that a lot when you put her on point with Barrick. But you have to move her off because Io without her dog is significantly worse. So you have to make sure you keep her alive at all costs. Itemization, caught, totally happy with that. But I would recommend Nimble. And I don't think Morale Boost is a bad buy on Io, but you hardly ulted that game. Did you ult again? I actually didn't even notice if you ulted a second time. I don't think so. So you bought Morale 2 after you ulted once and you didn't ult again. So think about that. Like, just don't put points in your loadout and or spend credits in game into things that you don't need or use. All right, that's it.